Memories often take us to the past, to the time that we have already passed, to the earlier years of our life. At your age, if you remember any situation that happened to you when you were 6 or 7 years old, then you will have a different kind of feeling, and along with that situation, memories of many people may also come. Maybe people who have already left us, people who loved you a lot, people who took a lot of care, people because of whom you grew so nicely, but those people are not among us now. They have left this world. So past memories often take us to a different world. It creates a different feeling in our mind, and as you grow up, those older memories will become more fond. You will become more fond of those things, and those memories will be more cherishable with the passage of time. And a time may come when, if you become a writer, you may write an essay, you may write a memoir of what you enjoyed in your childhood, how you were looked after, how you were loved by people during your childhood, and how they left you, and now that your life is devoid of them. A sensible human being always remembers his past, and past often brings memories. These memories may be happy memories or sad memories, whatever it is, but memories do visit us and they do influence us. The essay that we are going to study today, this writing is The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. Here also you will find a record or a narration of memorable event, memorable life that the author had during his childhood in the company of a lady, the lady in whose favor, for the sake of whom he has written this beautiful piece of writing. This lady is none other than the author's grandmother. Yes, we all know grandmothers are the people who love their grandchildren a lot. There is a very well-known bond between grandparents and grandchildren, especially grandmother. Grandmothers take a lot of care. They love their grandchildren really a lot. They influence the grandchildren a lot. So this grandchild, the author Khushwant Singh, when he became a renowned author, he wrote commemorating, he wrote remembering his grandmother and the love and care that she took for him, and then came up this beautiful writing, The Portrait of a Lady. The word portrait means an image, a photograph. Here you will not find any photograph. The portrait of a lady, the literal meaning is that the photograph of a woman. Here the woman, the lady, is the author's grandmother, and portrait is not actually an image, it is the narration that the author makes here. The description that he makes in this writing of his grandmother, this narration, after you read it, it will appear before your eye as if you can see the woman. He presents his grandmother in such a beautiful way that after reading this, the picture, the image, the portrait of the woman will come before your mind's eye, as if you are able to see the woman. Such beauty, such creativity the author has. All this you will enjoy. Before that, let us see about the author, Khushwant Singh. Khushwant Singh is a very renowned Indian English author. He was born in the year 1915 and died in 2014. Just barely 11 months before he could complete a century, at the age of 99 years, 1 month. And he also received Padma Vibhushan Award. He was born in a place which is now in Pakistan. He was born in undivided India and died in 2014 in New Delhi. And he is an author, a journalist, also a member of parliament, and he is known for his versatility, for his very beautiful artistic presentation of things through writing. Train to Pakistan is a novel that he wrote after he witnessed the tragedy during the partition of India in 1947. Train to Pakistan is a book for which he is very well known, and his autobiography is known as Truth, Love and a Little Malice. This is all about the author in brief. Let us go to the writing then. the portrait of a lady, it means the image or picture of a woman. The picture you will find, you will be able to discover it in your mind's eye, in your inward eye, through the skillful presentation of the author, and the lady is the author's grandmother. Let us see the writing then. Before every writing in this book, you will find certain phrases given at the beginning, and you may not be able to understand their meaning, but you will find all these phrases within the text. When you come across them in the text, you try to infer the meaning, try to try to know what the mean, what they might mean. See the phrases given at the beginning. The thought was almost revolting. An expanse of pure white serenity, a turning point, accepted her seclusion with resignation, a veritable bedlam of chirrupings, frivolous rebukes, the sagging skins of the dilapidated drum. What's the difficult? I agree, except the one, a turning point. You might find all others difficult. Let us see. You will find them in the text, and I am sure at that time you will find it easier to understand. The author begins with his grandmother's description. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. The very first sentence is very beautiful. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. So, at the age, the author's age was 20. He is talking about a time when his age was 20 years. During those 20 years of his life, he has seen his grandmother. The grandmother had already become very old, and the author had seen him, the same old woman all through. She had been old and wrinkled. What is this meaning of this wrinkle? Wrinkle means the certain lines that you may see on some surfaces. For example, you have washed your cloth, and before you iron it, before it is pressed, there will be some wrinkle, there will be absence of smoothness, some wrinkles will be there. After you press the shirt, wrinkles will be removed, it will look smooth. Wrinkles may appear on our skin also. When you become old, the smoothness of your skin is gone, and there are wrinkles on your skin. So the old woman had wrinkles on her skin. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband. The author, as a child, he saw his grandmother, the same old woman, there is no change in her. And when people say that this woman also was young once upon a time, she was also pretty, and even that she had a husband also, for our author who had seen his grandmother all these 20 years, she was the same old woman. How come she was also young? How come this old woman also had a husband, and how come she was pretty? It is difficult for the author to believe these things, but that was hard to believe. These things that the people say about his grandmother, that she was also a very young woman once, she was pretty, she had a husband, and had even had a husband. Two had are used here. This is in past perfect tense. Had. The first had is the auxiliary, the second had is the main verb. When we do tense, you will find this. When the main verb is have and the tense is in past perfect tense, you have to use two had consecutively. The first had is the auxiliary, the second had is the main verb. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. You will find a very brief description of the grandfather of the author. Grandfather's reference comes for a little while, only here only. Here the author is making a reference to his grandfather. Remember this thing, it was his grandfather. My grandfather's portrait here, the image, the picture. In the name of the story, the word portrait is metaphorical. Here there is no portrait. Through this description the author has made in this writing, you will get a view of the author's grandmother before your eyes, before your mental eyes. But in this line, the portrait that is used, that is real portrait. The portrait of the author's grandfather. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece. This word hung, it is the past form of hang. The word hang, its past is hung, and also past participle also hung. Again it may be hanged also. Hanged. This means the same word hang, its past and past participle may be hung, or it may be hanged. What is the difference? It will be hanged when you mean to make someone die, to let someone die, to kill someone through hanging. That is called, that is hanged. Hung, that is when you suspend something. For example, you hang your shirt on the on some stick, or at some points we hang clothes. This hanging, that is, or you hang a picture, hung, and that about killing someone through hanging, that is hanged. So the author is saying, my grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece. What is this mantelpiece? This is a new word. It is a single word, mantelpiece. And see the word mental, M-A-N-T-E-L. See the spelling. It is not this M-E-N-T-A-L mental with which you are very familiar. M-A-N-T-E-L-P-I-E-C-E. Same word. Mantelpiece means shelf above the fireplace. In your house, if there is a fireplace where in cold areas where in extreme winter, people have a fireplace in their house. So there was a fireplace, and above this there is a shelf. This shelf, by mantelpiece you just mean it is a shelf. Above the mantelpiece, above the shelf, there is an image which is hung there, and that is the image of the author's grandfather. And where is this mantelpiece? This mantelpiece is in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose fitting clothes. The author's grandfather, he used to wear a big turban on his head, and his clothes used to be loose. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest. His beard was long, it was white, and so long it was that it covered the best part of his chest. What is the best part of your chest? Which is the best part and which is the worst part of your chest? Here the best part does not mean the best in the usual sense. Best part here means maximum part. Maximum portion of his chest was covered with his long and white beard, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who could have a wife or children. Earlier we got that the author was talking about his grandmother, that his grandmother was so old that all these 20 years of his life the author has seen her to be the same old. And when people say that she was also once young and pretty and she also had a husband, it is difficult for the author to believe how come this old woman was pretty and young and she also had a husband. The same is the case with his grandfather also. He looks almost 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who could have a wife or children. For such an old man, having a wife or having children is something unbelievable. For such an old man, it is easily believable that he may have only grandchildren. Such an old man only may have grandchildren only. Having children or a wife, it is something unbelievable on the part of such an old man. Only this much is about author's grandfather, and the remaining whole writing will be about his grandmother, the portrait of a lady. As for my grandmother, being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. This is the first piece of clause that we have got. At the top you got some groups of words. The first one is, the thought was almost revolting. The thought was almost revolting means the thought was something that is unacceptable. The thought was something that could not be easily taken. When you start thinking that this woman was once pretty, that this woman was once a young woman, that this woman was also once had a husband, you cannot continue this thought. You cannot go on with this kind of thinking. You cannot even think of such an old man having once a husband or once being young and pretty. The thought is almost revolting. It means you cannot go on with such thought. You cannot continue thinking like this. This kind of thinking itself is impossible. This is just a child's idea. As a child, he had this kind of ideas. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child. Yes, small children play games. Elderly people do not play like kids. When you become old, you are not expected. No one will expect that you will play like a child. No. But this old woman, the author's grandmother, she tells the author that when she was a small child, she would play games. The author said, when my grandmother tells me this thing, that she often told us of the games she used to play as a child, that seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophets she used to tell us. when the grandmother would say that she used to play games, we could not believe it. These stories seem to be absurd. Absurd is something that is unbelievable, that cannot be accepted, that cannot be taken easily, that is not acceptable. Something illogical, something baseless, that is something absurd. So when the grandmother would say that she also used to play games, the author said this kind of her childhood experiences that she shared with us, it seemed to us to be absurd, it seemed to us to be undignified on her part. How come this elderly woman, this religious woman, this dignified woman, how come she played like us? She would run, she would chase someone, and she would play hide and seek, and she will start shouting, and she will catch someone, and she will act like a thief or like a police. All these games, the way we are playing, how come this elderly woman, this dignified woman, how come she played it? It's undignified to think about this woman to have done such things. It is not believable, it is not easy to believe that this woman would ever have played such games. And when she told such stories of her, of the games she played as a child, we consider those stories like the stories of the prophets that she told us, prophets about religious things, about how prophets did miraculous things. When we talk about religion, you talk about prophets, the great preachers of religion, they exercised miracles. God had given them miracles, they could do unusual things which common people cannot do. The way those stories appeared to us, those stories are fables. Fable means the stories that are imaginary stories, or stories that you cannot logically accept. Those stories of the prophets, that means fables, that the author's grandmother told her. The author said when she told about the games she played, those stories of her games also seemed to us to be just like fables of the prophets. They also seem to us to be something unbelievable, something imaginary, something we could not ever have believed. More description of the author's grandmother. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. See the beauty the author had created here. And is repeated. This is an art on the part of authors. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. She was slightly bent because of her old age. She could not walk or move or stand straight. She was a bit bent. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles. Wrinkles, I earlier told you, absence of smoothness. There are some lines on some surface. She was an old woman. On her face there were wrinkles, and there was a crisscross of wrinkles. It means overlapping of wrinkles. Wrinkles here, wrinkles this way, wrinkles that way. Overlapping or crisscross of wrinkles were there on her face, running from everywhere to everywhere. Now, no, we were certain she had always been, as we had known her, old, as old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older, and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. I have seen all my 20 years of my life this woman to be the same old, and the kind of oldness that she had, the kind of old woman that she was, looking at her, no one can imagine that anyone can become older than this. It means to the author it appeared that her grandmother had reached the extreme level of old age, that beyond that no one can become older. She could never have been pretty. You will get some more description of the author's grandmother's nature, her feature. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. Pretty, as yes, at your young age you look very, very attractive, and you have glamour on your face, on your look, on the way you talk. As you grow up, this glamour and this charm is lost. So pretty is when you have those glamour and charm, and this woman, she had lost those things. That's why the author said she could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. Yes, beauty was there in her face, although she was old, but pretty she was not, because she already had become old. She hobbled about the house. Hobble about means to walk with difficulty. At an old age, when you cannot walk smoothly like a young man, you just move like this. This is called hobble about. She hobbled about the house in spotless white. Spotless white, it means spotless white cloth, spotless white sari or something like this. This name of the cloth is not mentioned. That is also a way of writing. She hobbled about the house in spotless white. It means in spotless white cloth. Her cloth was white, so white that there was not a single spot on them. Very completely white cloth she would wear, with one hand resting on her waist. As she would walk in the house, she could not walk straight. She used to hobble about like this, and one hand was on her waist to balance her stoop. Stoop means to fall down, so that she should not fall. In order to keep her balance, she used one hand on the waist, so that she does not fall. And what about the other hand? The other hand telling the beads of her rosary. That is a very nice expression. Telling the beads of her rosary. Tell the beads of rosary. What is this rosary? Rosary means a chain. It is a garland which people use for chanting religious prayers. For example, you remember the name of God according to your religion, and you have got a chain where each of the bead you will just pass and you will mention the name of God once. One bead you will pass, you will mention the name of God once, then 100 will be completed. That is the beads of rosary. That thing is called rosary. Beads of rosary means one single unit. There may be 100. Each of them is called a bead. Rosary is the complete chain. And to tell the beads of rosary means to chant the name of God, to remember, to pronounce the name of God, to utter the name of God. That is called to utter the name of God using these beads of rosary. That is called to tell the beads of rosary. So the author's grandmother, she was an old woman. She could not walk straight, and she would rest one hand on her waist, another hand was she was telling the beads of her rosary. So like this, she used to move in the house. Her silver locks, here lock, elastic lock, don't think it is the lock of the key, lock and key, that is not the lock. Here lock means lock of hair. Earlier you got spotless white. Spotless white what? Spotless white cloth. The word cloth is implied, it is not written. The same is the case white, silver lock. Silver lock means silver lock of hair. Hair is not mentioned. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face. Her hair looked like silver in color. The color of her hair was silvery. So, silver locks means the lock of her hair that looked silver in color, and they were scattered untidily. Untidy and tidy. Untidy means in an undisciplined way, scattered here and there. If you use a comb and you comb your hair, then it will have a nice look. If your hair is not combed, then there will be here and there at 6s and 7s, hairs here and there untidily. So her hair, it was silvery in color, and the locks of her silver colored hair, they were scattered untidily over her pale. Pale means losing brightness. Old woman she was, she had already lost her brightness. Her youthful look is no more there. Puckered face means wrinkled face. So all her long hair, which is silver in color, they were scattered on her face here and there, on her pale face, on her puckered face, on her wrinkled face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. And all the while you can see her lips are moving. She was making prayer. She was a very religious woman, and she was making prayer but inaudible. Audible means something that you can hear. Inaudible means you cannot hear it. She was silently making prayer using the beads of her rosary all the while, and her lips were moving. No sound was there. So her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains. See the words the author is using for his grandmother. Her grandmother was like the winter landscape in the mountains. During winter season near mountains, what you can see clouds and fog, mists moving. They are moving and they make a very beautiful scene. The author is saying, looking at his grandmother, she looked like that. She was an expanse of pure white serenity. An expanse of pure white serenity. What is this thing? This word expanse you see, this is not this expense, this EXPENSE expense we all know, spending money. When you buy something, this is an expense, you spend money, this is an expense. But expanse means a large area, it is a noun also. Expanse means a large area. An expanse of pure white serenity. Serenity means a situation where there is no sound, it is a very calm and cool place, very comfortable place, it is a soothing place, you feel happy there. For example, if you get up early in the morning, at 5 o'clock, if you go and roam about, you will find there is no movement of car, there is no sound, very few people are moving, they are on the way, and there is a serenity all around, you feel serene atmosphere. So looking at the author's grandmother's face, if you look at her, she represents serenity. As if a white landscape near the mountains in winter season, the way it looks, the kind of beauty it creates. If you look at the author's grandmother, you will feel equally happy. Then she is an expanse of pure white serenity. Her clothes are white, spotless white. Perhaps she was also white, because the author said she was very beautiful and she was a very religious woman. And if you look at her, you will feel serene. She is spreading serenity all around, and if she is in a particular place, all around serenity will be spread because of her presence. This the author compares with a scene near mountains in winter season, when there is mist and fog moving, the beauty that is created there. Looking at the author's grandmother, one can experience this thing, an expanse of pure white serenity. There is purity, there is whiteness, there is serenity all around the author's grandmother. You feel purity in your heart, you feel the whiteness of her cloth and her look. That also creates a kind of happiness in your mind, a kind of contentment in your mind, and the whole atmosphere is serene, it is full of beauty, it is full of purity, it is full of serenity near this woman. Breathing peace and contentment. We breathe air, but this woman, she breathes contentment. It means that looking at her, it will appear to you that yes, this woman is a very contented woman, this woman has no complaint against anyone, this woman is very satisfied in life, she lives in perfect peace, she lives in perfect contentment, there is no anger against anyone, there is no complaint against anyone, she spreads only happiness and purity and love and care. Wherever she is, looking at her, people feel happy. Wherever she is, the whole area becomes serene and cool and pure because of her presence. That is what his grandmother was. In this way, the author will continue describing his grandmother. Some very interesting episodes will come, some very interesting things you will come to know in next paragraphs, in the next videos. We are ending this video here. Thank you very much, and meeting you soon in the second video. Thank you very much for being with me.